Thank you, brothers and sisters. Let me thank all of you and Ken and Charles for inviting me to be with you today. I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm not going to talk about the fact that I have a lifetime 100% pro-union voting record from the AFL-CIO. Not going to talk about the fact that I have been on the picket lines dozens of times with workers who are fighting for decent wages and for dignity on the job. Not going to talk about the fact that I helped work with the employees at Amazon and Disney so that they can get a living wage of at least $15 an hour. What I am going to talk about is that we have just introduced the strongest pro-union platform in the history of American politics. And that platform is available. I don't have time today to go into all of the details, talk about some of it. It's at berniesanders.com, and I would hope you read it. And the reason that we have introduced that very strong pro-union platform is that for 45 years, there has been a war in this country waged by the corporate elite against the working class of America. And the truth of the matter, not talked about in Congress, not talked about in the media, is that as a result of that war against the working class by the corporate elite, what we have seen is the decimation of working families all across this country, while the wealthiest people and largest corporations have done phenomenally well. Now, if there is going to be class warfare in this country, it's time that the working class of this country won that war and not just the corporate elite. It is not acceptable to me that today we have 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of America. Not acceptable to me that the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 92%. Not acceptable to me that half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. What you know and what I know is that the only way we rebuild the crumbling middle class, the only way we provide dignity and security for tens of millions of workers is when we rebuild the trade union movement in this country. Let me tell you a little bit about how we are going to do that. My goal is to double the number of people in trade unions over the first 4 years of my administration. We're going to do it by the implementation of the workplace democracy plan that I announced today. And here's just some of what is in that plan. Today, as all of you know, millions of workers want to join unions but are unable to do so because of employer opposition. Under my plan, when 50% of workers in a unit sign a card +1, they have a union. End of discussion. And if employers refuse to negotiate that union contract in good faith, we will impose strong penalties against those employers. Workers will get a first contract. Under my plan, we will end so-called right-to-work laws in Iowa and other states around this country. Under my plan, we will make sure that all public employees in Iowa and throughout this country have the right to organize and bargain collectively. Not only for decent wages, but for decent benefits, safe working conditions, and reliable schedules. In other words, we will essentially repeal the disastrous Chapter 20 law that took away those rights in Iowa by a Republican governor and that legislature. Under our labor law, companies will no longer be able to ruthlessly exploit workers by misclassifying them as independent contractors or deny them overtime by falsely calling them a supervisor. Under our plan, we will adequately fund the multi-employer pension program so that workers in the Midwest and throughout this country get the pensions that they were promised. Under our program, every union worker in America will have the right to strike, including those working for the federal government, and we will ban the replacement of striking workers once and for all. And I think most importantly, there's a lot of stuff there, and there's even more that I'm not getting into. But all of you know we have a situation today. We have large, profitable corporations where the CEOs are making 200, 300, 400 times more than their worker. They're shutting down companies here in America, profitable factories. They're moving them to China, moving them to Mexico. They're making it impossible for workers to join a union even when they want to do so. And then they line up in Washington at the federal trough and they say, give us a federal contract. Well, I got news for those corporations. If you don't treat workers in this country, if you don't protect our environment, if you don't treat the people of this country with the dignity and respect that they deserve, don't think you're going to be first in line for a federal contract. In addition, I'm very proud to tell you that I have the legislation in the Senate that will raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour, something long overdue. We have the legislation that will finally put the people of this country in the same position as people in every other industrialized country on earth, and that is that we will finally guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right under a Medicare for all single-payer program. The function of health care, the function of a rational health care system, brothers and sisters, is not to allow the insurance companies and the drug companies to make $100 billion in profit last year. The function of a rational health care system is to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a right of being an American. So we've got a lot of work in front of us in this coming year. We must defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country. We must defeat a president who is trying to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born. We must defeat a president who is a pathological liar. We must come together, black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American. We must come together and stand up for the working families of this country. And finally, create an economy and a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%. Thank you all very much.